Brats, you know the BoboVR M2 head strap, pretty well known across the whole entire Oculus Quest 2 industry now because of how comfortable it is, how many people like it. What happens when you come out with something really good? Someone else has to come out with something almost identical. We are checking out the M3 head strap that is not from BoboVR. This is from a whole different company. Kind of like those people on The Price is Right.
Jennifer, how much do you bid on the dinette set?
$675, Bob.
$675. Steven?
$780.
$780. Tammy?
What was the last bid?
$780.
$781.
You.
So this is technically from Eyglo. You can tell this looks like this is probably another dropship one though, because there's no sort of branding on the box. You'll probably see this available from a bunch of companies here soon. No tape to unbox. If that isn't the most obvious copy I've ever seen right there. A few obvious differences. Let's kind of go over those real quick. One of the only major complaints I've ever seen about the M2 is that people don't like when it first comes in, it has two little Velcro pads that go right here. And some people say they push on pressure points on their head. They don't like that. I didn't find it terribly uncomfortable, but I wanted a thicker pad, so I replaced it with a thick pad that would just help keep it a little higher up off my head. This one still has those same little pads there, but it's added a much bigger forehead pad here to help distribute that. It's kind of interesting they did, like, why didn't they just make this one solid piece instead of having these here and these here? Because even one weird thing that's going on right now, these rub on each other. This one's actually kind of caught under this one, so might be something you can bend and fix or something. Just an odd choice. Gear seems cheaper. This gear clicks in really nice and solidly. It unwinds quietly, and there's not much play. I mean, if I try and move it, it's moving that much. This thing, that's me not moving the strap at all. You can see I'm still doing that, and the strap isn't loosening at all. It loosens a little squeaky, got a clicky tighten. The only thing that bugs me about it really is that slack. That slack makes it feel really cheap. Back of the head is rubber instead of a padding, so this won't absorb sweat, and it's got holes in it to try and vent some of that air out. That might be nice. That might be a nice change. You see the M2 slides off nice and easy. M3 slides on pretty easily. Very similar look here. This part doesn't have the tension I'm used to on the other one. That could change from strap to strap. That could really just be how tight this part is in here, but that definitely makes it feel a little less premium because that just keeps falling down. This comes down to head shape, so everyone may not feel the same way, but I am finding these right here, the bottom is pushing in on my head. It's rubber, so it's not a hard pressure, but this is contacting me before anything else in the back, and I'm noticing that push. The only way I can get that to feel really good is if I rock the head strap up really high on the back of my head. It's like I want to pull it down around the base of my skull, but I'm noticing the most pressure right here with these two. Or if I bend these out a little bit, it feels very comfortable because then it's cradling my whole head with this nice soft rubber. Only those two don't feel great, but based on your head shape, that might not be so bad. If I put it up there, it feels better, but then I'm feeling more pressure on the front of my face. This part does seem like an improvement right here. This part's really nicely, evenly putting the pressure across my entire forehead, and I don't notice these as much as I would on here because even though they are separate pieces and they are pushing a little differently, they're so close to touching here that it kind of just feels like it's all one piece that's resting on your head. So that feels nice. The gear does not make me feel confident because what happens when you're trying to loosen it when it's on your head, you loosen it and then you feel that slack keep coming back that's back there. The gear is probably the worst part of this head strap. Padding feels cheaper, really thin pleather type that just feels cheap, where the BoboVR initially comes with this kind of textured one that does make it feel a little more quality. And again, like I said, this is kind of annoying. It's just so flaccid that it looks cheap and not great, just bouncing around like that. Is this an improvement over the M2? No. They named it the M3 because they're trying to steal some of that market. I get why they did that. I think that's a really disrespectful move, but there are no friends in the business industry, as they say. I'm gonna go play a little bit of games with it real quick, just in case it does change my opinion about it, and let you know some final thoughts here in just a minute. So let's talk about price. $35 right now for the Eyglo. If you go searching for the M3, we were right, it is a drop ship product. There's already other brands selling the same thing. $35 for this one, $37 for the BoboVR. So we're talking a $2 price difference. Is it worth it? No. I put the top strap on just to make sure that I wasn't testing it in an unfair way. The first thing, whenever you pick this thing up and this is just moving all over, that feels cheap. Then you get the gear with the play when you're trying to tighten it down, loosen it up, it makes it feel even more cheap. This is where I'm a little torn. These things were bugging me the whole time. I kept feeling those pushing into my skull. You could snip this. I mean, this is rubber. You could cut it a little, modify it. It just didn't feel right to me ever. Any way I tried to mess with it on my head, I couldn't get it right. But I do really like that it's rubber. It's got these ventilation holes. So if you're doing active games, this would be nice for that. The only thing that felt like a potential upgrade from the M2 itself, this right here, having this extra surface area, felt really stable on the top of your head. When I was playing games and I'm moving my head around quickly, this felt much more solid and like it wasn't gonna go anywhere. So I did like that about it over the M2, but beyond that, everything else about it feels cheap. And honestly, I don't think this is gonna last very long. This just feels terrible. I wouldn't be surprised if this broke within the first few days of using it. And you might get one and not, maybe this is just a bad gear and maybe I've just got loose sides, but two bad things in one, no. One last thing I thought some of you might be interested in, a lot of people struggle to get a battery pack attached to the M2. So you might think, well, is this an easy solution for that? Is there a better way? There are some options because it's rubber. You could put one back here, wrap a Velcro band around it. It doesn't feel amazing on your head, but if you had a thinner battery pack than mine, it might be a little easier to attach a pack back here. So a potential another plus, but I just can't recommend this thing in the shape it's in with how cheap it feels. There won't be a link in the description for me because personally, I just don't like it. Let me know what you have. If anyone else out there has one of these yet, I would love to hear your thoughts on it. It's so new. I am so sick of crappy gears on these that this is one of the worst gears I think I've felt on one. So that's really bugging me. But let me know what you think. I wanna say thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you're looking for a head strap right now, actually hold off on the M2 even. Wait about a week. We've got an M2 Pro coming in that we're gonna be testing out on the channel here. Hopefully that'll be the best of everything we've ever tested. We'll find out next week. But I wanna say thank you for coming out and hanging out. I hope this was informative and helpful to you here today. And I will see you in another reality. Floppy. Insert floppy peen joke.